Welcome, everyone, to the Settling Scores Path to Glory Taming the Tempestus. I'm here with my co-host, Other Nick. How are you, Other Nick?
Good, thanks, dude. It's lesser Nick, let's be honest. We'll get
That's
that.
a Nick.
We'll get that right out there from the get-go.
No, we're all even here. We're all comrades here.
We are
have
comrades.
spent 2 hours hanging out to get ready for this.
That's it's a pretty good time, dude. We've cut down 3 hours from normal, so that's nice.
We should have this done by midnight.
Yeah, it'll be edited in the next 3 or 4 months.
I need this out by 5 o'clock, Nick.
Oh my god!
For that American audience.
All right, dude. It's cool. I'm not busy at work. I can make it.
Okay, so this is the newest entry to the latest mini-series we're doing called Path to Glory, Taming the Tempestus. We're going to take the Tempestus, pick him off the dirt, wipe off the schmuck off him, and polish him into a gold ticket winning diamond. How are you feeling, Nick?
Dude, I'm very excited. I like many Australians, the Australians love an underdog, and I don't think you get any more underdog than the Aquilons at the moment. They're pretty low down. We'll talk about that later, but yeah, they look cool. They have a fun mechanic. I mean, that's all I need, really. All I need is outside meta, looks cool, fun mechanic, and I'm all in. So I'm very excited about this.
This perfectly suits us because Australians love the underdog and absolutely loathe the top dogs.
Yes. Tall poppy syndrome's a thing down under, so don't...
Yeah, it's because we're in the southern hemisphere. We're so far below everyone.
Yeah, it's a real complex that we've developed.
So we're going to just take the Tempestus and we're going to see how far we go with them. And we know that they're not good right now. But that's kind of just the point.
That's the other interesting thing, Nick, is like they've just had the recent buff. They're now 11 operatives, so are they better? Yeah, like in theory, yes, but how much? Like I still don't think they're scratching the upper echelons of competitive play.
Yeah, so we're just moving in. If you're watching this video, we've just moved into like Q2 stats, so there's no real reliable stat.
I did see, dude. I think they've played 8 games. They've won 1 out of 8. So far.
Okay,
so that's the standard.
That's the standard. We just have to win 1 game,
and we're
levels up.
Better than average, 100% better than the rest of the meta.
The problem is these guys just got a little buff, but everyone at the top dogs are just so good. Things like Sanctifiers and Goremongers and any other kill team, and any other elite team.
Well, also the fact that like it's a bit of a melee heavy meta at the moment. Shooting teams seem to be struggling, and the Tempestus seem to be a bit of a shooting team, which we'll dive into. But yeah, it's gonna be an uphill battle, but I like that. I'm excited for that.
We are Sisyphus, and this is our rock. We choose this rock.
The Aquilons are the boulder.
I choose you, Aquilon. All right, let's start pushing this boulder.
Let's do it.
Cue the boulder slide change. Okay, so we're going to set the scene for the Aquilons and what we're trying to do. So this is kind of just the motivations of where we're at, and we're not deluding ourselves. We're just going to look at where we're at right now. We're at the bottom of the hill, and we're going to start pushing this boulder up.
Yeah, we're not the worst. I think, Nick, you might have some input onto this, but we're not losing the Aquilons as part of the first declassification. So we have at least, kind of 6 to 9 months of them hanging around, which in theory gives us the time to build and work at getting them to like a tournament competitive team.
We will single-handedly raise their stats with both of our hands together.
Yeah, it's really funny because if we do well at a couple of competitions, that will actually change the stats pretty significantly. So that's kind of exciting.
Have to do well.
Yeah. And that's kind of, I think, why we were looking at them potentially over some of the other lowdown teams like Hunterclade, Kassakan, and Pathfinders, which are all rotating out within the next kind of 3 or 4 months.
We should be the bottom of what's left, is our thinking. And, there's a certain allure to playing the bottom faction. It feels good to beat someone with the bottom faction, especially maybe if they're picking a bit of a meta pick. because
Yes.
there's no real, it's all strats at that point. So it's a bit of a sweetened victory.
Yes, yeah. And if you can like crush Sanctifiers or crush some elite teams with this bottom of the rung team, then like the win's just that much sweeter ultimately. And that's what we want. Sweetness.
I love it. We're coming off really optimistic, and this is the first episode. So I'm interested to see how much more upset we get. So throughout this series, we'll be coming back. The next episode,
Just progressively more angry
we'll
and
do a
more
couple of test
disappointed.
games. The episode after that, we've done a tournament. So we'll see if the disillusionment and how long.
Yeah, it'll grow. It will grow.
Okay.
So I think the other thing about that is we're looking at some tournaments in September in Sydney, which I think if you're gonna do this, you need to do it on the biggest stage you can, and that might be the location for us. So I'm the way I'm looking at that gives us 4 months of lead in to like study the team, get the reps in, try and get like 25 or 30 games played in that time, and then bring them there and see what we can do. So maybe that's the time frame we look at, Nick. I'm not sure what your thoughts will be.
That sounds good, yeah. For all of you uneducated heathens out there, Sydney is a place in Australia. It held the Olympics.
And it only
exists.
a nice short 10.5 to 11 hour drive away. So we can do it if we have to.
Google the Commonwealth. We're a part of it.
Oh, wow. Just going to blow some
like
Americans' minds. So recently the Aquilons got the buff as of the kind of Q2 data slate, which moves them to an 11 model team.
Pretty huge.
I think there was some slight wording tweaks as well, as far as
a ceaseless on a knife. And
yeah. So ultimately, when you look at where they were and where they are now, we've got like a 10% increase, you could say, into potential power. If that correlates to that 38% win rate, then maybe we're looking at 41% overall. Which puts us up with Vespid's Stingwings, which I keep getting told are the worst faction in the game. So we've just got to do better than that. I think it's a victory ultimately. But if we can get ultimately if we can get good and like get a 50% win rate, I'm gonna consider this a success personally. Did you have any concepts, Nick, about what you hope to achieve, like as like a where you can sign this off as completed or successful?
I think if I can beat a couple top factions in a tournament, that would be really cool. I think the 11 operative opens up a really interesting play design or play style, because you kind of have a 10 operative designed team that is now 11 operative because they didn't really know how to balance it.
Yeah.
So that extra model, it'll be interesting to test around and see what we can score with that, because I think ultimately it's going to be a very good scoring team, especially with the way we drop down. Yeah,
you have the bodies to contest multiple areas of a kill zone. That's like, you can't really argue with that. You can spread out over the 3 objectives. Yeah, you can comfortably put 2 or 3 guys on each objective and still have a guy or 2 to, potentially try and maintain that tack, for example.
The end point is we win a tournament. Fuck it.
Okay.
We're going to win a tournament.
Wow.
Top 3. Podium.
We're not even close to that with our good teams. So
No. But like, a part of me is secretly hoping that everyone that plays Tempestus Aquilons actually doesn't know how they work and will crack it.
I've seen a lot of people say they're a great beginners team, which struck me as really odd, because it's like, it's a 1-box team, which is nice for a beginner, but that's really the only benefit I can see.
Yeah.
They're a shooting team, like from the data cards, that's how it looks. There's a lot of the drop things, not exactly uncomplicated. They've got a lot of, kind of straightforward ploys, but at the same time, the fact of your positioning everything becomes really important because they are kind of squishy. So I wouldn't have picked them as a beginner's team.
We were talking about this the other night, which is as soon as if a faction has a rule that involves the movement, it instantly becomes a very high ceiling team, because there's so much skill involved in where you're deploying units and where you're putting them down.
Yeah, 100%. And how you're making use of that movement, right? In terms of like, how are you pressuring with it? How are you achieving your goals with it? Are you using it effectively to do them kinds of things or not? So yeah, definitely think that there's a lot of potential here for growth, which I think is almost the same with most teams, but as you add operatives, that complexity intensifies, I think, ultimately.
Yeah. Okay, so just to recap of this is they suck.
Yep.
But things looking up.
Yeah.
But the good teams just keep getting better. So we're gonna go for a podium, but let's move on. Brief overview of the Tempestus Aquilons. What a crazy name.
I know.
So 11 operatives like we talked about. Highlights are now that we get access to both gunners, so Melter and Plasma. We can bring the Marksman along as well, and the turret. So those restrictions are lifted.
Yeah.
We have some troopers with a free reposition ploy, and then we kind of have your usual suspects in terms of a 10 operative kill team specialized operatives. So, a leader who can give out APL, a melee guy, a grenadier. So just your usual suspects there.
The leader's interesting as well because he can do ploys for free on himself as well, which is nice. So you have two different options there for free ploys, which I think is pretty awesome ultimately.
And then the main rule of this faction is drop insertion. So for all you Warhammer heads out there, we're going to have 1/3 of the board, 1/3 of our operatives on the board, and the other 2/3 in deep strike. And that'll involve some drop zone markers and deploying them one at a time through rounds 1 and 2. So that's kind of where the crux of this, cracking this nut comes in. This proverbial nut is in those first 2 rounds and moving those drop markers, dropping these boys down.
Yeah.
And seeing how we go.
Trying to catch people unawares with your decision making. And then I think the really cool thing about the drop insertion ultimately is that depending on who you're playing, you change your drop insertion strategies. So it gives you a lot of flexibility coming into a game to mess around with who you're going to deploy. In your first third, do you want them to kind of secure points or do you want them to rush up the board? And then your second thirds, do you want them to then, drop down on points that you want to maintain, or do you want to put them in positions where they can exploit your enemy, for example? So lots of cool ideas, I guess, or cool kind of concepts that you can brainstorm about the insertion. It's a really exciting team rule.
And we get a lot of bonuses for dropping. I like how we're saying the tribalism has started.
Yes, it's us versus them.
Yeah, and it's us versus every other kill team.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of bonuses for dropping, especially with ploys. A valid critique of the team is once they have dropped, we really don't have a faction rule anymore.
Yeah, I think compared to the Pathfinders, which I've had a little bit of experience with, these guys just seem to have a pretty decent shooting profile. So I almost feel like once you remove the drop insertion, you might not have anything spicy to kind of surprise people with, but you're a rock solid team of 11 operatives that all have pretty good profiles on their weapons. So they definitely can fall back onto them stats, I think, to a degree.
Yeah, and for all you lore heads out there, the Tempestus Aquilons are kind of elite soldiers who were dropped on their head as a baby. So they have a natural inclination for dropping.
Interesting. It's good to know.
That's what I've read. I've read a couple books on them, and that seems to be the gist
That's the overall takeaway.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I skimmed it.
Okay, nice. I haven't read anything, so to me, they can be whatever I want them to be, that's where the real excitement is. I'm going to paint them. I think I might paint them so flamboyantly. Let's see what we get. Hey?
Very friendly.
What have we got next, Nick? Operatives that drop basically as a reposition. So when you're dropping them in, they're going to all come in kind of with 1 APL, which sounds a little feels baddy.
Leader will come in with 2.
Yeah, and he can give an APL away as one of his APL things. So there is a little bit of cheekiness, I guess, there.
Once they are dropped, they are obscured until the end of the next activation or the end of the turning point, whichever comes first. So it adds another layer of complexity in terms of where we can drop them, the vulnerabilities we can put them in, and how long they can last. Against teams that ignore obscurity, this is going to really suck. But
if you can do this out of turn order in terms of like when the other team's counteracting, then this becomes pretty huge in my mind. because they'd have to counteract, which means they only got that option, that turn in some scenarios to respond. And if you do have obscuring, then that's great. Obviously, yeah, if they ignore obscuring, that kind of takes away a little bit of the luster, but you are dropping and shooting straight away, potentially. So that's in itself, I think that's kind of opens the door up to hopefully trying to blow something away before it can retaliate if that's what's needed.
Yeah, this is what has me worried in a weird way, because this all seems so good and yet their stats are so bad. So I've always been interested in the Aquilons because they do so bad, but on paper it just looks like they can...
looks like they can slap, right?
It looks like they can slap, so...
Yeah.
I'm interested to get some games out of this.
Nick, you've known me for quite a while now. You know that going into things, I'm eternally optimistic. And then as soon as I actually experience it, that reverts 180. So this might be one of them things where we're reading everything just going like, that seems good, right?
That seems good, and then we immediately get
and
stomped.
then you do it, and you're just like, oh, actually, it's not good.
I've basically just not done a normal move.
Yeah. 100%. I think the whole key to this team is going to be trying to catch your opponent unaware. That seems to be the main thing to do.
So with the drop insertion, each third of the kill team in the deep strike will have a drop marker. So there'll be 2 drop markers on the board. We can move them up 4 inches as a strategic gambit, and the troops can drop onto either marker, which is fun. So there's that allows a matter of flexibility there.
Yeah, and the first drop marker goes away at the end of turning point 1, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and then the second marker will be able to move up a total of 8 inches away from your drop zone.
That one goes away at the end of turn 2, and any guys left are eviscerated.
Yeah, okay, interesting. So if I'm doing the math correctly, right, usually operatives have a 6-inch movement, which means that by the end of turning point 2, the most you could have moved would be 12 inches with 2 6-inch repositions. However, if you're doing the drops...
Any dashes.
If you dash. With a 2 APL team, I feel like dashes are a luxury. But that could be just me. With the drop markers, you move up 4 the first turning point, you move up 4 again the second turning point. You then have the ability, I think, to drop within 4 inches of the drop marker.
Yeah, it's a CP, because normally it's within 3, and with a CP you can make it 4.
Okay, cool. So then at that point, you're pushing 11 inches anyway. So it's almost comparative to just moving yourself. The difference being that you can, hopefully stall out your opponent in some scenarios, or drop them into positions where your opponent's just not ready for them to be dropped. I know when you're staging 11 units up the board, it becomes very hard to ignore certain things like blast. But with this team, hopefully that's not as much of a threat. You can kind of just try and stall out the opponent's activations. Let's say they've got 8. Stall out 8 activations. You've still got 3 activations left. Drop down 3 key players in key areas, and then just punish the opponent if they've been too aggressive in their staging. I'm really curious, Nick, how this kind of team would go into an aggressive team like the Goremongers with their huge movement. Because if they move past your drop markers, then you can really kind of try and burn them from both ends in a sense.
Yeah, the only problem is the 8 wounds for these guys lines up very nice with the Goremongers, so it's going to be hit, response, hit, and we'll be dead.
Yes.
And they do also have the 8 wounds cap for shooting, so it'll be very interesting against them. I don't know exactly how that's going to look.
So I think the Precursor has the advantage, right, of being able to strike twice and fight on conceal when they're dropped in.
Yeah.
Which is potentially a bit of a gotcha for them kinds of teams. The other thing, how many operatives is the Goremongers? Is it 8?
Goremongers is 8, yep.
Okay, so if you can potentially take down someone with the Precursor, maybe take someone else down with your leader with like a power sword or something along them lines, they're down to 6, and then you in theory might have 10 or 9 units left. So in that case, maybe shooting twice is a possibility. The other thing is the servo sentry dude shoots twice, so the Goremongers can take a maximum of 8 in one turn.
That'll take one guy
down. Exactly. So my thoughts are, I think it might be just a matter of strategically taking down key pieces and then just trying to hold back the tide with your remaining guys, if that makes sense.
Another key strategy against a charging team like the Felgors or Goremongers is the eye above strategy. Allows us to mark a guy, everyone in 3 inches of that guy as well as detected. And when a detected guy tries to fight one of our Aquilons, we can either reroll one of our defense dice or block 2 unresolved successes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, blocking
1.
2's big. Blocking 2's massive.
Goremongers attacks 4 attacks on 3s. Say if they miss 1, likely.
Yeah.
They'll have 3 attacks. They put 1 into us, and then we block 2. So anyway, we won't be able to deal a lot of damage back, but at least we can.
We have 3/4 profiles, right?
That is with the equipment. Yeah. With the equipment, if we take Tempestus daggers, we'll have 3 attacks on 4 for 3/4. So potentially. Against an elite team, it would be harder to make that judgment. But against like a Felgors, Goremongers, we could definitely take the daggers and go for some double blocks.
Yeah,
look at us, we're already war rooming. We're already getting into it.
This is the exciting part, right? The theory crafting. Look, I think there's the potential, right, to examine them breakpoints and see what's potential as far as them kind of melee profiles.
And as the series goes, we'll do more in-depth kind of analysis of what we're going up against, even in our meta. And if maybe the stats as well are painting a picture of a popular meta that the Aquilons are struggling or doing very well against, we'll deep dive in on that as well with our own experience.
Yeah, we'll probably try and do live stream tabletop simulator games as well, maybe once or twice, or maybe once a week in between our other commitments. Which should be really cool to have a feel.
Road to glory.
Yeah, because the great thing about this is if Nick can play him and I can play anything else, or I can play him and Nick can play anything else. So it really just frees us up to like throw a lot of different variety at the Aquilons and see how they go. That could be cool.
The only thing that there's a slight nerf in me and Nick versing each other in that I think when you play as well a lower meta team into a competitive scene, there is an element of surprise, an element of your opponent not knowing what's happening, which we've talked about, knowledge is power in the kill team. So that is also pretty good. You rock up with the Aquilons. This guy who's been playing for 7 months has never faced Aquilons. Yeah. That's really good for you because they're not going to be able to guess the tips and tricks.
I've definitely mentioned Aquilons to a few people in our area and none of them have they've said, oh, they look cool, as in like, they haven't actually got them themselves.
They look cool, all right.
So that 100% that could play to our advantage. By picking an off meta team, you're able to just kind of keep your opponent on their toes as to what you're actually able to do.
Another critique I've kind of heard of the drop insertion is powerful but potentially predictable. So if we do move into a meta where people are knowing what the Aquilons are all about, playing around these drop markers could potentially pose quite a large risk.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. That'll be something that we'll test out. So we'll see if people are truly able to play around that drop marker, and even how me and Nick go playing around each other's drop markers.
Yeah, I think in that case, I think the concept will be to bring the big threats in last and just basically, if you've got a melter gun is a real threat to a Marine. Space Marine. So at that sense, like, you can always leave that melter gunner in the air, right up until the last activation, and then your opponent, even if he knows what's coming, he still has to play around it in a way. So that could it's all about kind of, trying to be in the mind of your opponent, know what they're going to be worried about, and then just either exploiting that fear or surprising them with something else. So there's a lot of cool options there, I think.
So this is our what looks good, the good, the bad, and the game plan.
Yeah, awesome.
So this is kind of what's attracted us to the Aquilons, what we're liking, what we're not liking, and our current thoughts are. So this will be good to revisit later on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And see what we've overestimated, see what we've underestimated, and see just what we've estimated.
Yeah. I'd like to think I'm a good estimator, but history's proven that to be an inaccurate statement.
So, Nick, old pal, rules, ploys, and data cards. Are there any ploys that you are particularly like? I like that.
So I think the ploy of moving the drop marker 4 inches is really cool because you can kind of stack them on a wing each maybe, or stack them both in the mid. You can, you got the potential then to really open the board up or throw guys to an area where the enemy's not ready for them. Obviously they know the ploy's there, but they don't know which way you're going to go with it or which marker you might potentially move. So I think ploys wise, there's that. They can drop down with effectively ceaseless, if I'm not mistaken, when they enter the battlefield from the drop, which is really good.
Hot drop.
Yeah, I think.
So if an Aquilon operative that's wholly within your opponent's territory or either landed or dropped, so either dropped from vantage terrain or landed from the faction rule. If the target is within 6 inches of it, you can reroll any of your attack dice, and you can do this after you roll your attack dice. So if you whiff big,
yeah,
or maybe you get a crit and a bunch of misses, you can keep that crit and reroll everything else. So that's a hot one. That really supports the big gunners.
Yeah,
I'm excited about that one as well.
The maintain momentum's an interesting one because it's shooting against a ready enemy. You get severe. So I think like you drop every guy down at the turning point 2, right? Then at the start of turning point 3, you use your ability to re-roll the initiative dice, which I think is a faction rule.
Really good equipment.
It's equipment.
It's a really good. So that's equipment. So once per game re-roll, which
So I think turning point 3.
That's a really cool one.
Yeah, turning point 3. I think if you can pinch that initiative and then you get severe against every operative that's that's readied, that means that after you've dropped in, you've got your guys in good positions, you reposition them to get them to where they need to be, and then you use the maintain momentum just to start blasting, like whoever's on that back line or whoever's kind of, you can get a good shot at. And if you're going up against 6 Marines, then that's 6 potential severe opportunities. If you're going up against a horde, then you're getting severe like the entire turning point, which is pretty massive. I think guaranteed crits is... no matter it's shooting, fighting, or fighting as well. So even on the charge, like severe into some of them weapon profiles is going to be really nice. Look, I think as far as ploys go, this team's probably got some of the better ploys to support what they want to do. I think
they're almost kind of like extra faction rules in which they meld really well with the faction rules.
Yes.
And they're open enough to support you in various different play styles as well, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I'm really liking things like Eye Above is a really cool defensive tool.
Yep.
I'm also really liking things like exemplars, so doing missions for 1 less AP.
That's cool.
I think these guys are going to be really strong doing missions.
Yeah.
And also, like, I'm going to call it now for me. I'm going to love remote overseer, getting to re-roll your initiative roll, because there's nothing better than, positioning. You can kind of position yourself on a turn 3 where, if you get the initiative turn 4, it's really going to make or break the game.
Yeah.
You can kind of, increase your chances with the
double roll,
with the remote overseer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're 100% right. Like that's going to be pivotal in certain games. Maybe you've over committed yourself in a certain area. Trying to guarantee that initiative becomes massive to kind of correct that. So it's a little bit forgiving in a sense. I think, and I could be mistaken here, we're going to want to save all our CP potentially turns 1 and 2, or as much as CP as we can, right? To then really... you might want to do a hot drop and you might want to adjust coordinates between turns 1 and 2. But turning points 3 and 4, I really feel like you're going to want to have a strat ploy or 2 and then be utilizing the exemplars, or even progena if you've got your leader that's wounded, for example.
Yeah, I think the turning point 2, you can definitely give initiative to your opponent to like justify generating that extra C, because you're like probably no rush, because nothing really should be in probably too much danger most likely, depending on how you play. So you could play a bit more cagier turn 1, not drop as many guys.
Yeah.
so that you can afford yourself to go turning point to turn. You can afford yourself going second initiative to generate that little bit of extra CP.
Yeah,
to
100%.
kind of pop off in the later rounds.
Yeah, because you're starting turning point 2 as well. You're potentially only got 50% of your team on the field, which means that you're gonna want to be cagey until you've got your whole team down. I think personally at this point.
Cool. So we kind of went over a little bit what we talked about. Also, another exciting part, is 11 activations with a combined wounds of 91. So turret is 10, leader is 9. That leaves 9 other guys at 8 wounds. That's a lot of wounds.
Yeah.
Plague Marines have like around 84 wounds total. So even for your opponent, just to kind of slowly chog through the team.
Yeah.
And especially they're not getting those turn 1 and turn 2 kills reliably.
Yeah.
To get through 91 wounds in turns 3 and 4 is pretty great.
Yeah.
Like for us, I think.
Yeah. I think, 100%. Like 11 activations with 2 APL each, it's 22 APL per round, right? So even compared to Marines, like they get 18.
Extra 23 from the leader.
Yeah. But he uses one of his own to do that. I've kind of in my mind made that one. But yeah, like the Marines have 18. So like I think the best team I think was the Void Dancers, right? Because they had 3 on 8 units, which is 24 from memory. So like the more activations, more money at the end of the day. It just allows you to do more things. So I really think that between the wounds being high and just being able to soak up a lot of damage, and then the amount of activations you can achieve, I mean, you're potentially shooting 7 times a turn or shooting or fighting, let's call it, and doing 4 mission actions. You're wasting 4 APL on mission actions. And
I'd classify, this is almost like a mission aggressive team.
Yeah. You got the movement, you're able to threaten areas. I really think this will be a crit op team, and then potentially, some bonus tack.
Yeah, and it could be nice to also potentially we'll see how much we're able to deny our opponent those that kill team points as well, or kill off points.
I think with the Melter Bomb, with the Melter Gunner, we might talk about this leading into the next point, like the shooting profile. So your Melter Carbine on the Gunner, 6-3 Dev 4 Piercing 2, like they're not surviving that, especially if you've got the rerolls on the hot drop. The Marksman, 4 on 2 up, 3-3 but Dev 3. That's just so much damage. And then the Melter Bomb, 4 on 3, 5-3 with Dev 3, Piercing 2. Like, this team can really do, kind of 12 to 16 damage. Kind of feels like reliably on 3 of their operatives. So I think as far as shooting goes, you couldn't really ask for more without being greedy. I really think this team's got it. And that's not even touching on the Servo Sentry, which is shooting twice and has grenades or hot shot volley gun. So like, I really think this shooting profile is really nice. You lack a little on the melee side of things, but you have kind of 2 operatives that fulfill that role to a degree. I think that, I'm excited to shoot with this team. There's no operatives that I look at on this team where I go, 4 on 4, for example, or anything along those lines, or 3 on 4, or something kind of hideous like that. Like, it's all 4 on 3 or 4 on 2, super good weapon profiles. With the troopers, for example, you're not getting any bonuses, but with everybody else, you're effectively getting some kind of bonus.
Yeah, I'd probably just throw those, get ready for those troopers to just jump on ejectors and die.
Yes.
So like for a sabotage,
yeah,
they're going on and dying.
Yeah.
They're just getting that point.
You got 3 of them, so you can afford to do that, ultimately.
It's almost good they're so bad. That way there's no guilt in just being like, get out of here, get me a point. So in that way they're good, right? They can kind of just get a point.
Dude, they're them incendiary pigs. From like Age of Empires or something. You just kind of set them on fire and launch them in the right direction.
Transitioning to what looks bad. What don't we like? We've been talking hype. Let's break into this sour nut.
Yeah.
Nick, what looks bad?
Look, I think at this point, I hate a weak leader, which sounds a bit silly, But I think the command ability that he has is a little underwhelming in terms of that he's gimping himself to give that point out to somebody else. Having a dedicated comms unit, I think, would have been nicer, and leaving the
one less
Tempesta.
trooper.
Yeah.
Do we need 3 troopers?
Yeah, I mean, and that's just me. I think the other thing that looks bad ultimately is that 4-up save is a bit crappy. I mean, I'm greedy. I have bad luck, so I like a 3-up save, but it's a 50% chance to save, so I shouldn't complain too much. The 8 wounds, can't really complain. That's kind of the standard with most operatives. I think that you've mentioned that the restrictions can make the drop insertion predictable. I think there's definitely an element to that, but it'll be a matter of finessing the units you've got left just to keep the opponent guessing. The expendable units point, I think, is another good one. Like we just talked about, like troopers, just don't start to love them because they're going to die. They're going to be your little war pigs. Send them in and get them to do their thing and then get them to die. Keep your good guys around for actually killing or maintaining them. What did you think, dude? Did you have anything that you're overly concerned with as far as the Aquilons?
I just want to preface this by saying I couldn't have asked for a better co-host, because we just gushed about a 38% win rate team
yes.
for about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for the
reality to set in.
to fill 3 PowerPoint slides of this is what's bad, this is what's bad, this is what's bad. But no, I kind of agree with you. Like I do. Maybe I have rose-tinted glasses on right now. I think we're really going to feel in those later turning points when the guys are dropped down and some goremonger's guy is giving his guys AP plus an inch of moving in, fighting twice, and then healing 2d3.
Oh, that's just
another
gross.
Guy's throwing his chain axe at our face.
Yeah, that's gross.
And we
no
don't have
what.
Faction rules. Yeah, so it'll feel extra bad, I think, because when we don't have faction rules, I think the team might be fundamentally lacking an extra little salt or extra bit of spice for the faction rules for when we're already on the ground.
Yeah, that's a fair.
Because I think we might feel that. I think we might feel that, and it might be a bit of a feel bad to not actually have any rules to support the team once they are down, especially maybe that turn going forward. But I might be wrong. Like, we could just be able to just score and just. The rules could put us in a good enough position, or we might be able to use these rules to put ourselves in a good enough position to be scoring well.
Yeah, I think ultimately, right, like at the moment, shooting teams just struggle into the melee teams, like all of them do to a degree. So I think we've got that uphill battle. But once again, that's kind of the choice to pick these guys is that they are going to be a bit of a battle to. They are going to be a little bit Sisyphusy to get up the hill, but at the same time, like I've been playing Mandrakes, I've been playing Hyrotech. I'm kind of used to the 2 APL now. I'm used to the 3-4 or 4-on-3, 3-4 shooting profile. I'm kind of used to saving on 4-ups with the Mandrakes, although they do have a few little tricks here and there to offset that sometimes. So I think if you were coming from Marines with the 3-up save, the 3 APL,
yeah, you'd feel it.
But I feel like I'm already living there in a sense.
Yeah.
So
I've been playing a lot of Wreckers, and they're effectively just AP2. They get that 30 APL sometimes, but I think it'll be nice change of pace because Wreckers struggle doing the missions with their limited AP and their sequencing. So I think I'm really excited to just bring these guys in and just really focus on just missions.
I think after, I picked up the Pathfinders and played with them initially and then kind of dropped them because I didn't get how they worked and they were kind of crap. Ever since then, I've had much more reduced model teams, like eight model teams, basically. So going back up to 11, I think 3 extra operatives is going to feel pretty nice. And I really like playing reactively. So I like to let my opponent waste his entire turning point doing what he wants to do and then responding to that. So I think I'm excited because I think this will suit my playstyle a little bit more maybe. But yeah, we'll just wait and see. You're 100% right, Nick. We're gonna record another episode in 4 months' time, and we're gonna be like, "Well, that was hell," and and we're giving up. And we're
back on the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, they're there for a reason. Don't worry about them. Yeah, move on.
We'll be pushing back and up this hill for the rest of the time.
Yeah,
a new rock will come.
That's it, dude.
But right now, this is our rock, so we're just gonna have fun with it. So in terms of our current game plan, we talked a little bit about that, which is like we're excited to get all these activations, excited to score teams. TAC Ops.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's probably some good resources online.
So we have Recon, Seek and Destroy. Recon,
okay, so
obviously.
just Recon.
Potentially.
Plant Beacons could, I think, be good right off the bat. Plant Beacons.
So that's
could be good.
That's definitely something I've heard in my, kind of prior research. I hate Plant Beacons because I hate having to put guys in that many different positions. I think that. I mean, Recon, I really like Confirm Kill. I think you're going to be killing with these guys.
Good.
It might be just a matter of, getting to them tokens. I think when you go into Elites, Confirm Kill's just such good value because you can... kill one. The Elites... You could and he's coming to you.
Potentially kill and then another guy can just run on there and grab it type of thing. Maybe drop it. Maybe even drop onto it if it's turn 2.
Yes, so I think there's some potential there. Seek and Destroy, I've heard some people are having some success with one or two of them. And so, once again, this might be the whole thing of maybe the enemy expects us to plant beacons, right? We have that... When the meta sets up a standard, you have the ability to counter that pick. So if they are thinking you're positioning aggressively for the plant beacon, but that's not your intention at all, they might kind of show their hand a little bit, which could be an advantage to you. So I'm gonna try the Seek and Destroy tax. I'm gonna just see if I can get any of them to work in a reliable fashion. And yeah, I guess that's something we can come back with and provide some data once we've had a few games and see how that feels.
Yeah, definitely take a bit of we'll go through our playtest era where we'll just be versing each other's and some people at the local game shop.
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of report on our findings, and then we'll do a tournament and then report on our findings once again, because that's usually a different beast.
Yes, yeah, casual play is... Compared to tournament play is definitely, everyone does turn it up a little bit. There's a lot more seriousness generally to the events.
Fashion time. How are we painting our little hot droppers, Nick? How are you approaching the design?
So, I've got a color that I really love, Corporeal Shadow, I believe it's called. It's a nice kind of dark navy blue. I'll probably use that in much the same style, potentially as the Games Workshop ones. But then I'm going to get real colorful, bro. I'm going to try and channel some Mountainside Tabletop and get some fluoros in there, get some really fun stuff just to spice it up.
Lovely.
This game's a little too serious sometimes.
A little too. Sometimes we need some color.
Yeah, man. How about you? What are you thinking?
I think I'm going to go all helmets because I don't want to paint any faces.
100%.
So helmets all the way.
100%.
The helmets look cool.
They do, yeah.
I think I'm going to go for a bit of a Saints Row type of color scheme, but a lot of purple and gold.
Okay,
so I think that's my starting point. A lot of purple and gold.
Purple's the best color, dude. Purple's where it's at.
I've been using a lot of AK Interactive, so I think I've got pretty much all AK Interactive paints for this one, so I've been really enjoying using that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that kind of rounds out our first introductory episode into Taming the Tempestus. We will be back. We'll be talking about how we've overestimated or underestimated some things. Have they performed well for us? What surprised us? And the inevitable reality check.
Yeah, the inevitable Hindenburg moment where we come crashing back to Earth in a screaming ball of flames.
And we'll start pushing that rock right back up that hill.
Yeah. I think this is a really fun concept, Nick. I'm really happy that you brought it to us and we can give it a go because, there's a lot of potential here. I think a lot of people will be interested in just kind of following along and seeing how this all pans out because everyone loves watching a train wreck, right?
Yeah. If you play the Aquilons, hit us up in the comments. Let us know how you're going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe we can dig your brain.
Yeah.
But thanks guys for watching, and we'll be back.
Yeah, if you have any...
Jacked.
And if you've got any suggestions that you'd like to see us try and accomplish, or any goals perhaps, because we are a little wishy-washy at the moment in terms of what we can achieve, feel free to lower that bar for us, because we're dreamers.
Yeah. Some low-hanging fruit, please.
Yeah.
They're the tastiest.